Welcome back to our YouTube channel Transformed, and I hope you are all subscribed and you've liked the previous video. So today we'll be discussing on theology. In the last video we discussed about spirituality, and I hope you guys gained one or two things, and I hope those of you that gained one or two things you shared to your friends and to your family so that they can also gain. Knowledge is not for only you, it's for you to gain and also share to other people. So on the channel today, we'll be discussing about theology, and I hope that you will gain as much as you can gain from the video today.
So, like my brother said, today we are discussing theology. And I don't want you to get thrown off by the big words, theology. Uh, Let me do a little bit of things that I normally kick against, but I think it will be helpful here. Let's just do a little bit of etymology. That's another big word. Let's find out how that word, what that word means from the other words that constitute it. So theology, if you're paying attention, there's theos, the Greek word for God in that, and there's logos, the Greek word for rationality, what discourse. Of course, in many languages, a word often is ambiguous. It has several meanings. But in this, and as they used to say, words only take on their meaning in context when you put them in an actual sentence. If I say pen, you might actually think of this kind of pen, but I might mean a thick pen. So unless I clarify what I'm talking about, you're not sure what I'm really talking about. So logos also, you only really know what we're using it for when you hear the context in which it is applied. So when you say theology, we're really saying the logos part, what you have to say about the theos part, God. So theology is, what do we think about God? What do we have to say about God? That's what theology is. So, and then last time, we did mention that theology is for preserving our spirituality so that we don't lose it, because spirituality can easily get off the rails. So theology is for preserving that. It's to provide a framework. You've probably heard the idea of free will. Free will means nothing if it becomes randomness. It's no, there's nothing such as free will anymore. When it becomes random, it's just randomity or randomness. It's not free anymore. It's only free when there is a framework. There are guidelines. If you're driving on the road, there are usually rules. You go in this direction, you drive on this side of the road, and stuff like that. Being free to drive doesn't mean driving in any direction. That's not freedom. That's nonsense. That's madness. So same thing, spirituality can become madness if it doesn't have guidelines and frameworks that protect it. And that's what the theology is there for. So like I said, theology is what we have to say about God. And so how does that help us to protect, to guard against losing it in terms of our spirituality? One, like we explained in the last video, spirituality can mean, developing a deep connection and intimacy with other human beings, friends, family members. It could be with even other parts of creation, because if you've ever had a pet, you can really develop a very meaningful relationship with pets. Of course, they shouldn't rise up to they never, if you are developing your relationship with other humans, if you're developing that, your relationship with pets should never rise up to the level of what you have with humans, except, well, you're losing it in another way. So, but what if your relationship with the creation or with animals, with pets, shouldn't match what you have with humans? Likewise, your relationship with humans shouldn't match what you have with God. Now, that might sound very complicated because God is someone you don't see, and it's much more easier to develop relationship with someone you see. But if God is who He is, what we have to say about Him, then your deep connection with humans should never match your relationship or your connection with God. That's the more reason why people easily think spirituality is maybe connecting with God, and they often don't think of connecting with other humans as spirituality, because your connection with God should mean much more, should totally blow out of the water any relationship, any connection, any intimacy you have with any other human. So, and that moves us straightway to theology. If you're not thinking about the right God, then you seek to connect with Him in wrong ways. And people have done that in so many traditions. They are seeking to connect with God, but if you are not thinking about God in the right ways, you would mess it up. Your spirituality would be torn down. There is this saying in the Bible that says that God having to clarify, God is not like, and you can put in all kinds of things in there. It's not like humans. It's not like the other beings that you have heard of. It's not like God is not the creation. God is not is unlike so many things you are usually aware of, you usually come across. God is not like them. So it's very easy to get God wrong, hence the theology part. We need to, what do we have to say about God? How are we thinking about God? What sort of God do we think God is? What sort of being, if such a term ever applies to Him, do we think He is? If you don't get that right, then you will seek to connect with Him in the wrong ways, and ultimately you damn your own heart, you destroy your own heart. Just to give a good example, as a human, someone can hurt you and you get angry, and it's always okay to get angry. Of course, what you do when you're angry is what matters, but we won't go deep into that. It's very easy to begin to think of God as you. Now, there is so much to discuss there, but the little point I really just want to make now is there's a part in the Bible that says that God is slow to anger. But if that doesn't get emphasized or made very real to you that God is slow to anger, there are people who have taken their own quickness to anger and maybe assumed maybe God is that sort of being too. And when they connect with God, they try to get God to do certain things for them. There are people who do that. You know, you want God to kill on your behalf. You want God to do certain things on your behalf. It gets dangerous. How you think about God is very important, and that's what theology is. Because if you're not thinking about God, if you're not seeing the true God, then you're seeing an idol, if I may put it that way. And if you're seeing an idol, your who you are as human often begins to go bad, and who you are as a human, once that starts to go bad, you begin to produce evil in the world. And that's the story of humanity. We're not seeing the true God anymore, and what we are as humans is going bad, and because of that we are producing more evil in the world around us. You are hurting your neighbor, you are hurting the creation, you hurt your pets, you do all kinds of things, you even hurt yourself. So that's what theology is for. Theology is to help us to think about God in the right way. Theology is, what do we have to say about God? How are we thinking of God? And that's to help us protect our spirituality. Because again, the spirituality is the real thing, the connecting with God, the getting to know Him, and having deeper relationship with other humans, friends, family members, spouse. And that's what spirituality is. The things that give life meaning over and beyond the mundane things of everyday life. Although, just to make this a throwaway remark, actually, the other things that I called mundane, there are ways that they could be important and meaningful, but we won't get into that today. And let's just stick with the topic we've mentioned, theology. And I hope you understand what theology is now. It's what we have to say about God, how we think of God, and how that helps us to keep our spirituality intact is because if we are not thinking about God in the right way, then we'll seek to connect with Him in the wrong ways, and that ultimately leads to a broken world, a broken humanity, and a broken world. So we need to get our theology right so our spirituality can also be right. And I hope that blesses you today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.